Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I am going to be showing you how to make this trendy wrap skirts. Now let's jump right into the tutorial.
Now using my basic skirt pattern, this is the waist to ankle length pattern, and here is my back pattern. It also has the zip allowance, and I'm going to cut 2 for this back pattern. Now here is the front pattern, which is going to have all the work and where the wrap skirt is going to be. Now for better understanding, I am just going to do a little bit of illustration for you guys so you can understand what I am about to draft on my pattern. Now I am just sketching my basic skirt pattern on this paper, and I'll just cut this out. Next thing I'm going to do is to follow the natural fold of the center of my pattern and highlight it. Now from that middle point of your pattern, you're going to take 3 inches or 5 inches mark, and you're just going to connect it to the bottom of your skirt, just like I am doing. Just connect it to the bottom of your skirt and just cut out. Now this is what one of your side fronts should look like once you're done drafting it. Now for the other side of my front, this is how it is going to be. Now what I'm going to do is to place another pattern under it, and I'm going to go on and tape that down. Once I have taped that down, I would extend this pattern by 20 inches. I would extend it by 20 inches, and I would add my side seam allowance and also my dart allowance. Now once I have done that, I would connect it to the bottom of my skirt. Now I am going to find the midpoint from this to this. Once I have found the midpoint, I'll take 6 inches and I would connect my curve and cut. Now next thing I'm going to do is to create my slash and spread on my pattern. Now I'm just going to highlight where my hip is and where my knee line is. Now I'm going to take 1 inch up from my hip, and on this side I will take 8 inches down from my waist and I'll connect the line. Now I will find the midpoint from my hip to my knee line, and from here I will take 10 inches and I'll connect the line. And for my knee line, I will just extend it all the way to the end, and I'm going to be slashing these 3 lines. Now when slashing, make sure you not cut out all your pattern, just cut and stop just about 1 inch before the end of your pattern. And once you're done, just spread this on your fabric or on a new pattern, and you're just going to tape it down and just retrace. Now you're going to spread this whole pattern by whatever it is you want. I'm going to spread mine by 3.5 inches. This is going to be 3, and this is going to be 3, and this is going to be 3. Whatever it is you're spreading, even if it is 4 or 3.5, it's going to all be 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. So now I'm just going to retrace this, and I am just going to retrace this on my pattern, and I would cut this out. Now I am going to add a new pattern underneath this, because I am going to extend this some more by 9 inches or 10 inches, whatever it is you want. Now I am going to connect this to this part, this third slash. I'll just connect it like this, so your pattern is going to be looking like something like this. Now I'll just cut this out. So this is what your 2 front patterns should look like, one overlapping the other, and the one overlapping the other one would be like this. As you can see, this is what your pattern should look like at the end of the day. Now I am going to go into proper pattern drafting. for further understanding. Now here is my front pattern, the one I illustrated first. Now I'll place a new pattern underneath it and I'll tape it down. And from the edge of that pattern, as you can see, I am taking 5 inches. And like I said, you can take 3 inches, you can take 2 inches. It just depends on whatever it is you want. Now I'll connect this with a curve to the end of my pattern. Now once I am done cutting, I'll go ahead and fold in my darts. And once I am done folding in my darts, I would cut this on my fabric. And I'm just going to cut one piece, as you can see. Also remember to leave half-inch allowance at the top of the waist to join with your upper bodies or your waistband. For the other side of the front, I will place my pattern on this new pattern like this and I will tape it down. Now do bear in mind that this is not my full front pattern. This is just half of my front pattern and that is what I am using. You can use your full pattern if you want. Now I am going to place my waist circumference divided by 2, which is 16 inches. My waist is 32 divided by 2 is 16 inches. Now I am going to place my dart allowance and I am also going to place my side seam allowance. Now from this mark, I am going to take about 17 inches, which is where my pattern stops. So now I am going to connect that to the end of my pattern right here. I will just connect a straight line. Now I will find the midpoint of this line. And once I do, I will take 6 inches and I will connect my curve, just like I showed you in the illustration. Now next thing I'll do is to prepare my pattern for slashing. Now from my hip line I'll go upwards by 1 inch and from my hip line to my knee I'll find the midpoint. Now on this part I'll take 8 inches downwards from my waistline and I'll connect it straight down to that 1 inch mark. Now from this line I will take 10 inches. This is just same way I showed you during the illustration. And now I will just connect these to this midpoint of my hip and my knee. And my knee line, I will just extend it all the way to the end of my pattern. And I am going to be slashing these 3 lines.
Trying to keep my cool. I see what your colors shining through. Yeah, I do.
And now as you can see, I have slashed and spread this on my fabric. You can use a new pattern if you want, but I just decided to spread this on my fabric and just get on with it. And everything is about 3.5 inches, just like I said I would. I spread everything by 3.5 inches. Now I'll just go on and retrace my pattern. Remember to leave half inch at the top right here to join to your upper bodies or to join to your waistband. And I am extending more on my fabric just like I said I would, and this extension is about 7.5 inches and I am extending it and joining it to this pattern just like I illustrated. Now I'll go on and retrace the rest and I would cut out this pattern on my fabric.
Now for my back pattern, as you can see, I have cut it out on my fabric and I left allowance at the top for joining to whatever it is you want. And as you can see, I am just going to go on and retrace the darts on my fabric, and I will measure that dart and I would retrace it on my fabric. Now next thing I am going to do is to mark my zip allowance on my skirt pattern, and as you can see I have done just that. Now I'll place 8 inches right here from my waist down. I'll take 8 inches. Now from this 8 inches mark, I would go on and stitch from that mark. I'll stitch all the way down to the bottom of my skirt. And now for the front fabrics, I'm going to go in and bias the curved parts of the front, the overlapping parts of the front. These curves, I will go on and bias them. You can as well turn yours using a lining if you want. Now for my back fabric, as you can see, I am done stitching that part I said I would. And now I would open this up and place my zipper allowance also, which I have done. Now I'll place in my zip and I'll start pinning. And once I am done pinning, I'll pull this other one over and I would also pin all the way down. And once I am done pinning, I'll go on my sewing machine and I am going to stitch my zip down on my fabric. And this is how I am going to stitch. Sew from right here to this point and continue sewing to this point. Now once that is finished, next thing I am going to do is to place the good sides of my front to the good sides of my back, and I am going to go on and mark my side seam allowance, and I am going to do the same for the other side. I'll place the good side of my front to the good side of the back, and I would also place the side seam allowance. And once I am done placing the side seam allowance, I will go on and stitch, joining my fabrics together, my front and back fabrics together. Now as you can see, I am done stitching, and next thing I am going to do is I will take this overlapping side of the front under, and this one I will take it over on top like this. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this over to my side seam, and I'll go on and stitch, joining the fronts together, joining the two fronts together. Now once I am done stitching and joining them together, I am just going to go on and overlock, or you can just fold this, double fold this in, or fold it once and stitch just to hide the rough edges. Now once you're done doing that, next thing you're going to do is start taking this like this. Just start taking this and just wrap it up. And next thing you're going to do is make sure you hold this nicely, start like pleating it, making like little pleats, just so it's going to fall nicely. This is more like you're trying to drape your fabric. It's more like draping. Now I'm going to go on and stitch this like very close to my side seam joining. I'll just go on and stitch this down like this. Now make sure that when you're stitching that you avoid your back fabric. Just go on and open this up like this and just take your back fabric out of the way and just stitch. And I'm going to go on and do that, and also fold in my bottom skirt allowance. And so next thing I am going to do is to place in my band, and the length of my band is 5 inches and the width is my waist, and I added 1 inch to it for extra allowance. Now I have also ironed my interfacing, as you can see, just to give it a little stiffness. Now I will fold this over in half and I'm going to iron it down, and I'm also going to fold in 1/2 inch at the bottom right here all the way, and I'll iron, and I'll do the same right here, and I'll do that and I'll be back. Now as you can see, I have done just that. I have ironed everything down. Now next thing I'm going to do is to start placing in my waistband, and I'm going to go on my sewing machine and stitch this together. Now please do bear in mind that the skirt I am making is a high-waisted skirt, and that is why I didn't remove the length of my band from the length of my skirt. Now I'll just fold in the rough edges, as you can see, and I'll fold this in, and I would go on my sewing machine and start stitching again. I'll fold in the rough edges again, and I would stitch and close this up. Now once I am done stitching, I'll put my hook and eye, and that is all for this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, please do give it a thumbs up, and hope to see you in much more exciting videos. See ya.